Last night's episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live witnessed an unprecedented meltdown when Ricky Gervais was forcibly removed from the studio after Jimmy Kimmel accused him of building his entire career on bullying celebrities and suggested his comedy was just disguised sociopathy. The British comedian didn't just defend his craft. He delivered a devastating exposure of Kimmel's own history that left the host's carefully crafted nice guy persona in ruins and ABC facing another crisis. But what started as promotion for Gervais's new project would reveal something darker about Kimmel's past that his team had desperately tried to bury. The Hollywood Boulevard studio was noticeably tense from the moment Gervais arrived. The 63-year-old comedian was there to discuss his new animated series about death and philosophy, but Kimmel's writers had prepared something entirely different. A production assistant later revealed that Kimmel had specifically instructed them to take him down a peg and show everyone he's just mean, not clever. The warm-up comic had been making jokes about British people who think cruelty is wit and comedians who peaked at the office. Several staffers expressed discomfort with the planned confrontation, with one writer reportedly warning Kimmel, "Gervais knows where all the bodies are buried in Hollywood," only to be told, he won't dare bring that up on network TV. Therefore, when the cameras rolled, Kimmel was walking into a battle he'd already lost, but didn't know it yet. The show opened with Kimmel's typical monologue, including several pointed jokes about comedians who hide behind the excuse of honesty and people who confuse being offensive with being funny. Gervais waited backstage, watching the monitor with what staffers described as amusement rather than anger. His manager would later reveal that Gervais had actually done extensive research on Kimmel before appearing, saying, "If they want to play dirty, I'll play dirtier." When Kimmel finally announced, "Please welcome Ricky Gervais," he walked out with his characteristic casual confidence, his smile suggesting he knew something the audience didn't. "Ricky, welcome back to the show," Kimmel began with his practiced warmth. "Your new animated series looks interesting." "Thanks, Jimmy. Though I'm surprised you're interested, given that it requires understanding nuance," Gervais replied immediately. Kimmel's smile tightened. "Speaking of nuance, don't you think your Golden Globes hosting was just bullying disguised as comedy?" he asked. Interesting perspective from someone who built a career on The Man Show, making women jump on trampolines, Gervais responded casually. The studio went quiet. Kimmel's face reddened. "That was 20 years ago. I've evolved," he said defensively. "Evolved? You mean after you got caught? After the blackface videos surfaced? That kind of evolution?" Gervais asked with his signature laugh. Therefore, the counterattack was immediate and brutal. The audience gasped at the mention of Kimmel's blackface controversy. But Gervais was just warming up. "We're here to discuss your work, not rehash old controversies," Kimmel said, trying to regain control. "My work is making jokes about celebrities. Your work was making jokes about women's bodies and painting your face black to mock Karl Malone. Which one of us should be embarrassed?" Gervais asked. "I've apologized for those mistakes," Kimmel said weakly. "Only after they resurfaced. You were fine with them for decades. But please, lecture me about comedy ethics," Gervais replied. He stood up slowly, his movement deliberate. "You want to talk about bullying? Let's talk about the time you had women guess what was in your pants on television. Let's talk about asking women to feel men's crotches to win money. That's not comedy. That's sexual harassment with a laugh track," he said. "That was a different time," Kimmel protested. "It was the 2000s, not the 1950s. You knew it was wrong. You just thought you'd never face consequences," Gervais observed. But then he revealed something that changed everything. "You know what your former Man Show co-host told me? That you regularly made female staffers uncomfortable but threatened their jobs if they complained. Want to discuss that?" he said. Kimmel's face went from red to pale. "That's completely false," he stammered. "Is it? Should we call Adam Carolla? He's got stories about your behavior that would end your career instantly." "But sure, let's pretend I'm the problematic comedian," Gervais said. He turned to the audience, and this is where something important happens. "Look, I know this is uncomfortable, but there are people watching who've been gaslit about harassment, told they're too sensitive, that it was just jokes. If that's you, no, you're not crazy. Share this moment." Comment your support for others who've been dismissed. Like this video to spread awareness that it was a different time isn't an excuse for abuse. Your engagement might help someone else feel validated. Sometimes sharing these truths helps others realize they're not alone, he said directly to the camera. The audience was divided. Some applauded, others sat in shocked silence. But Kimmel, desperate and cornered, made things worse. At least I don't make fun of people's beliefs and tragedies, he said, grasping for moral high ground. Gervais laughed genuinely. No, you just made fun of women's intelligence and black people's existence. But you're right, making jokes about God is definitely worse than actual degradation of real people, he said sarcastically. I've grown as a person, Kimmel insisted. You've grown worried about being canceled. There's a difference between genuine growth and career preservation, Gervais replied. He moved closer to Kimmel's desk. Here's what kills me about you, Jimmy. You cry on TV about healthcare and guns, positioning yourself as this compassionate voice, but you built your fame on degrading women. You lecture others about morality while hoping everyone forgets your immorality, he said. People can change, Kimmel said desperately. Did you change? Or did the culture change and drag you along? Did you have a moral awakening? Or did Me Too make your old behavior unmarketable? Gervais pressed. The questions were devastating because everyone knew the answer. Kimmel hadn't evolved. He'd adapted for survival. But Gervais had more ammunition. You want to know the difference between us? I mock ideas and institutions. You mocked women for having bodies and black people for existing. I punch up at power. You punch down at the powerless. I make people think. You made people objects, he said. Stop, Kimmel said quietly, his composure completely gone. Why? Because the truth hurts? Because your nice guy persona can't survive actual scrutiny? You didn't stop when women asked you not to objectify them. You didn't stop when black people said blackface was offensive. But now you want mercy. Gervais asked. Kimmel made his fatal mistake. Security, get him out of here, he said, his voice cracking. The audience erupted in chaos. Having Gervais removed for exposing truth was catastrophic optics. But Gervais laughed. Perfect. You're having me removed for bringing up your actual documented history. This is beautiful. Please, have security escort me out for mentioning things you actually did, he said. 2 security guards approached hesitantly. The audience was split, with many booing Kimmel. Some stood to leave in protest. This is my show, Kimmel said weakly. Built on the degradation of women and minorities. What a legacy. Your children must be so proud, Gervais said. The mention of Kimmel's children was the final blow. Don't you dare, Kimmel started. What? Mention that their father made millions asking women to grab men's crotches on television? That's your legacy, not mine, Gervais interrupted. He looked at the security guards. Go ahead, escort me out for telling the truth. But everyone here knows who the real bully is. The one who targeted the vulnerable for laughs, not the one who targets the powerful, he said. As he walked toward the exit, he turned back one final time. Oh, Jimmy, that emotional crying you do on TV about healthcare and tragedies? People see through it. You can't build a career on cruelty, then rebrand as compassionate. The internet doesn't forget, and neither do your victims, he said. Get out, Kimmel shouted, completely losing control. I'm going. Back to making comedy that challenges rather than degrades. You stay here, pretending your past doesn't exist. Let's see how long that lasts, Gervais said. He left to significant applause. Many audience members stood and clapped. Others walked out with him. The show went to immediate commercial. Within minutes, #Gervais exposes Kimmel was trending globally. Old clips from The Man Show resurged. The contrast between Kimmel's current persona and his past behavior went viral. The hypocrisy was undeniable. Kimmel returned after commercial visibly shaken, attempting to continue, but the audience was hostile. People shouted hypocrite and Man Show throughout. He ended the show after 3 minutes. The next day brought immediate consequences. Women's groups condemned ABC for platforming someone with Kimmel's history while he attacked others. Sponsors faced pressure. The network panicked about their late-night lineup facing another scandal. Kimmel attempted damage control the next night. But his emotional discussion of growth felt hollow when contrasted with the clips Gervais had referenced. The internet was merciless, creating compilations of his worst moments. Gervais tweeted simply, "I make jokes about ideas." He made women jump for money. Yet I'm the villain? Hollywood morality is fascinating. The tweet exploded with millions of interactions. It sparked a broader conversation about who gets forgiven in entertainment and why. Kimmel's selective evolution was exposed. ABC suspended the show for retooling. Industry insiders revealed panic about lawsuits from former staffers inspired by Gervais's revelations. The Man Show era was returning to haunt Kimmel. Meanwhile, Gervais's animated series saw massive viewership. His willingness to expose hypocrisy resonated with audiences tired of performative redemption arcs. He'd turned an attack into an exposé. But the deeper impact was about accountability. Gervais had shown that crying on television didn't erase decades of documented misogyny. That current virtue signaling didn't absolve past vice. The incident became known as the Gervais Gambit, using someone's attack to expose their greater sins. It became a textbook example of why glass houses and stones don't mix. Kimmel's show eventually returned, but never recovered its cultural position. His moral authority was permanently compromised. He became a reminder that the internet never forgets, and neither do the people you've hurt. Years later, Kimmel would admit in a podcast that confronting Gervais was the stupidest decision of my career. But he never addressed the substance of Gervais's accusations, just the tactical error of the confrontation. But that night, all anyone saw was Ricky Gervais refusing to be lectured by someone whose past was far worse than any joke. Refusing to accept moral judgment from someone who'd built fame on degradation. Refusing to let hypocrisy hide behind tears. He'd been kicked off the show, but he'd kicked down Kimmel's entire carefully constructed facade. The security guards who'd escorted him revealed later that one had said, "You destroyed him, mate." Gervais had replied, "No, his past destroyed him. I just reminded everyone it exists." That reminder became the lasting impact. Ricky Gervais, removed for speaking truth, walking away victorious while Jimmy Kimmel sat behind his desk, exposed as the very thing he claimed to oppose. The empty chair Gervais left represented every uncomfortable truth Hollywood preferred to forget, every past sin disguised as evolution, every hypocrite hiding behind progressive rhetoric. And Jimmy Kimmel, who tried to paint Gervais as a bully, was exposed as someone who'd actually bullied the vulnerable for profit while now pretending to be their champion. The difference was undeniable. Gervais continued making people uncomfortable with truth. Kimmel continued making himself comfortable with lies. One had been forcibly removed from a show. The other had been forcibly removed from his pedestal. Everyone watching understood which removal mattered more.